I'm gonna cry. I knew, like, just something told me that my child was there. It was weird.
Sandra Bullock captured the world's attention not just with her stellar acting, but with a decision that melted hearts everywhere, adopting little Louis Bardo 14 years ago. From the moment she brought him into her life, fans couldn't get enough of their touching story. But here's the burning question: where is Louis now, and what's his life like today? Prepare to be amazed as we uncover the fascinating journey of Sandra and the boy who forever changed her world. A life away from the spotlight. Sandra Bullock may be one of Hollywood's most well-known faces, but when it comes to raising her children, she has perfected the art of invisibility. For years, Bullock has expertly kept Louis Bardo out of the spotlight, allowing him to mature like any other child. However, how can you mix Hollywood's glitz and glamour with the need for normalcy? Sandra's strategy is both unique and inspirational. Sandra made it clear from the start that Louis's well-being came first. Adopting him in 2010, just months after a personal crisis, she made the decision that he would not become media fodder or paparazzi flashbulbs. Instead, Sandra committed to creating a setting in which Louis could thrive apart from the pressures of celebrity. Her words in an interview ring true: "My job is to protect my children, not parade them." But let's be honest, keeping a child's life private when you're an A-lister is no easy task. On the rare occasions when Louis is seen in public, Sandra makes sure the encounter is on their terms. Consider his presence in the audience during award events rather than on the red carpet. These glimpses reveal Sandra's careful balancing act, allowing Louis to observe her career successes without putting him in the spotlight. So, what's it like behind the scenes for Louis? Sandra's home is said to be a haven of stability, in stark contrast to the craziness of Hollywood. While living in Los Angeles, Bullock created a world full of love, humor, and most importantly, normalcy. Consider bike rides, quiet family meals, and homework nights instead of Hollywood premieres and celebrity galas. However, the question remains: how can you define normal when your mother is a global icon? According to family members, Sandra's guidelines are straightforward. No special treatment, no continuous stream of benefits, just the necessities for a balanced and grounded upbringing. It's a parenting style that combines traditional principles with modern sensibilities, ensuring that Louis knows life outside of the Hollywood bubble. While Louis may not appear on magazine covers or social media feeds, his presence is felt strongly in Sandra's life. She frequently notes how he helped her rediscover the pleasures of simplicity. "He's my grounding force," she once said, highlighting how Louis changed her outlook on life and stardom. But what about the rare occasions when Louis steps into the spotlight? Whether he's at a charity event or accompanying his mother on errands, he exudes quiet confidence. However, there is still so much more to this young man's story. Sandra's efforts extend beyond safeguarding Louis from external forces. They also include developing his sense of identity and self-worth. Sandra wants to create a safe atmosphere where Louis can discover his personality without being stigmatized as Sandra Bullock's son. According to her, "I want my children to know their worth, not because of what I do, but because of who they are." Louis's life away from the spotlight demonstrates Sandra's commitment as a mother. She's not just raising a child, she's developing a person with a bright, unlimited future. But with such a guarded background, it's natural to wonder what Louis has been up to behind the scenes all these years. The answer is both sweet and revealing, and you won't want to miss it. The side of Louis the press won't tell you about. When we think of celebrity kids, we frequently envision gorgeous red carpet appearances and lavish lifestyles. What about Louis Bardo Bullock? He's challenging every cliché. Sandra Bullock's portrayal of her son reads more like a passage from a heartwarming novel than a Hollywood tabloid. So, what makes Louis so unique? The answer is in his great personality. Sandra often refers to Louis as her old soul. In interviews, she expresses her delight and wonder at his remarkable combination of wisdom and empathy, characteristics that appear almost uncanny for someone his age. One story sticks out. Sandra once described how Louis consoled her during a particularly difficult time. "Mommy, you're not alone," he said, his little voice full of conviction. I'll always be with you. Can you fathom a child this little providing such tremendous comfort? But Louis's depth does not end there. Sandra regularly mentions his nearly supernatural ability to read the emotions of those around him. When she's had a long day or is feeling overwhelmed, Louis offers subtle support that speaks volumes. It's as if he has an emotional radar that detects what people need before they ever realize it. Let us not overlook his sense of humor. Sandra previously commented that Louis's wit kept her grounded. "He doesn't let me take myself too seriously," she said. While most of us consider Sandra Bullock to be the embodiment of Hollywood elegance, Louis refers to her simply as Mom. What's even more remarkable is how Sandra influenced Louis's values. Despite the advantages that come with being the child of an A-list celebrity, Louis seems surprisingly grounded. Sandra instilled in him a sense of duty and appreciation. She's frequently stated that she wants him to grow up understanding the value of love, compassion, and humility. One unforgettable tale exemplifies this perfectly. While on a family excursion, Sandra spotted Louis guiding a smaller youngster around a playground. It wasn't a big deal, but it was significant. Louis automatically takes on the role of nurturer, demonstrating patience and understanding beyond his years. But here's the kicker. Sandra doesn't simply talk about parenting kind and sensitive children. She does it. Her home is a place where empathy is not only fostered, but cherished. Louis, it appears, has thoroughly embraced this ethos. You might be wondering how Louis, a star youngster with a large heart, navigates the world. The truth is, he handles it gracefully. Sandra has made it clear to him that his worth is not based on her fame or riches, but on who he is as a person. Louis's personality demonstrates that being a celebrity child does not have to mean losing touch with what is genuinely important. He is insightful, empathetic, and intelligent beyond his years, qualities that distinguish him in the best way possible. But what comes next for this exceptional young man? What more aspects of his personality remain undiscovered? As we pull back the curtain, we'll discover that there's far more to Louis than meets the eye. The creative spark you didn't see coming. Even though Louis Bardo Bullock has a great attitude, his creativity is even better. Being raised in a place that encourages creativity and self-expression has given Louis a natural talent for discovering the world through art. But what exactly does he love, and how does Sandra support them? Now let's look into the story of how Louis became interested in art. Sandra has told everyone that Louis is always interested in building and making things. She used to say, "Give him a pile of Legos and he'll build something you've never seen before." Louis's hands-on approach shows that he has a mind full of possibilities, whether he's building complicated structures or coming up with creative projects. But Legos aren't the only thing we have. Sandra has made it sound like Louis is interested in music and the arts. He often tries out new instruments because he is so interested in rhythm and melody. Imagine a teenager making music in a corner of the house while his famous mother listens quietly. Isn't that a scene right out of a movie? What makes this even more interesting is how Sandra encourages Louis's imagination. She doesn't put limits on things or expect things from people. She gives him the tools and the freedom to explore instead. That she wants her children to feel free to show who they are in any way they choose. And Louis has taken that freedom very seriously. There is one time that stands out. Sandra once told how Louis took a simple cardboard box and turned it into a palace with towers and a drawbridge. It wasn't just about the end result, he was happy with the whole process. It's not just fun for Louis to play make-believe, but it also shows how he sees the world, not the way it is, but how it could be. But for Louis, being creative is more than just making art. It's also about finding solutions. Sandra told me that he often finds creative ways to deal with everyday problems. Louis's ability to think outside the box is something Sandra always pushes him to do, whether it's to organize his room faster or plan ahead for a family trip. The big question now is, could Louis's interests in art and creativity affect his future job? It's too early to say for sure, but there are a lot of options. Are you going to follow Sandra's lead and become a movie star? Will he carve out a whole new road for himself? maybe as an architect, designer, or musician. He can be sure that Sandra will be there for him no matter what he does. She has said, "I just want him to be happy." That's the main goal of every parent, right? We've seen that Lewis's artistic spark isn't just a hobby, it's a big part of who he is. That's what makes him stand out, not just as Sandra Bullock's son, but as a unique person with a lot of promise. Why Sandra Bullock's parenting philosophy has everyone talking. Sandra Bullock is not like other moms in Hollywood when it comes to parenting. She's a force of nature with a purpose. Behind the fancy red carpets and blockbuster movies is a woman who is strongly dedicated to teaching her kids to be thoughtful, kind, and independent. But what is it about her parenting style that makes it so unique? Sandra acts in a certain way because she thinks that character is more important than conditions. She has said, "Success doesn't define you. Everyone sees how you treat them." She taught Lewis and her daughter Layla this way of life, making their home a place where kindness and respect are valued. Sandra thinks it's important to teach her kids how important it is to work hard. She makes Louis understand that nothing good in life comes for free, even though she is very rich. Her kids are learning directly that honesty and hard work go hand in hand by doing things like helping with chores and taking responsibility for what they do. "I don't want them to grow up entitled. I want them to grow up grateful," Sandra said at one point. It's not just about work and being responsible, though. Sandra also talks about how important it is to forgive. She has told touching stories about times when she had to tell Louis that everyone makes mistakes, even her. She thinks that teaching kids to forgive is just as important as teaching them to work hard. In the end, neither life nor people are perfect. Sandra also thinks that diversity and acceptance are very important when it comes to parenting. She wants to make sure that her 2 African American children grow up in a home where differences are valued and not just put up with. She is known to read books with Louis that show different countries and histories. This helps him understand how rich the world is from a young age. What really stands out, though, is how Sandra uses her own life to help Louis get ready for the difficulties that lie ahead. Sandra thinks that every child needs to learn how to be resilient because she has been through her own share of problems. Louis is learning from her that failures aren't the end. They're just a way to get to something better. Sandra is definitely a hands-on mom, but she also makes sure not to take away her kids' freedom. She has said, "I want them to feel like they can handle the world without me." Parenting isn't about power to her, it's about showing them the way. So how does Sandra's theory help Louis deal with the problems he will face in life? The answer lies in the principles she has taught him. Kindness, determination, and gratitude aren't just words for Louis. They'll be useful to him as he deals with the challenges of life. There's more to this story, though. How has Sandra's desire to honor history and identity changed Louis's view of the world? That's where the next part of this amazing trip starts. The secret behind Louis's strong sense of heritage. One thing Sandra Bullock knows for sure is how important personality is. It has been both an honor and a duty for her to raise Louis as an African-American child in a world that isn't always kind. What does she do to give her son a strong sense of his heritage? Sandra has said many times that she wants Louis to know and be proud of his roots. She thinks that comprehending your past is important for knowing your present is important for knowing your future. She has always made it a point to connect Louis to African-American history and society. Their shelves are full of books by Black authors that tell stories of strength and victory. Sandra makes sure that Louis can relate to the heroes in the stories he reads. Sandra takes every chance to help Louis feel more connected to his background, whether it's through bedtime stories about famous people like Martin Luther King Jr. or talks about current events. But it's not just books, it's also things that people do. Sandra has been known to take Louis to festivals and cultural events where he can fully experience the music, food, and customs of his family. These aren't just trips, they teach pride and a sense of connection. Sandra also thinks that Louis should have people around him who look like him as role models. She has worked hard to build a group of friends, teachers, and leaders who can give her different points of view. Sandra once said, "I know my limits. I won't teach him everything, but I'll make sure he learns it from the right people." Then there's the matter of how to get around as a black boy in America. Sandra isn't afraid to have tough talks. It was hard for her to tell Louis the truth, which is something no parent likes to do, but she did. She has said, "I tell him the truth because I want him to be ready." Even though they hurt, these talks are necessary for Louis to understand the world and his place in it. Sandra's work affects more than just Louis's heritage. It also changes how he thinks about variety in general. Not only are differences allowed in their home, they're praised. Louis has a caring and open-minded view of the world, which he shows by learning about other cultures and standing up for what's right. Just what does Louis learn about the world and his place in it? The answer is easy: that he is proud of who he is, that he fits, and that he is important. Louis's strong sense of family history will no doubt lead him as he grows up. But how will this base change him into the man he's becoming? Keep reading because Louis's story has a lot more to tell. Why Louis's future has everyone guessing. All eyes are on Louis Bardo Bullock as he grows up. What does the future hold for this amazing young man? With a strong base built on love, principles, and being yourself, the options are as endless as Sandra Bullock's filmography. But will Louis become famous like his mother did in Hollywood? Or is he meant for a different kind of fame? Louis's desire to be creative shows that he has a lot of promise. He has always been very creative, from the time he was little and made complicated Lego models, to the time he tried his hand at art and music. Could this be a sign that you'll become an artist? Sandra has talked a lot about how Louis is different because of his ideas and unique point of view. He has a different view of the world, she said. Could this dream one day lead to a job in building, filmmaking, or design? That being said, Louis is unique in more ways than one. Sandra's values made him more empathetic, which could lead him to a job where he helps people. Think of Louis as a humanitarian, an activist, or even a leader in an area that supports diversity and acceptance. Because Sandra taught him so much about life, he's already very good at understanding and getting along with people from all walks of life. There is always the chance that Hollywood will call for him. With Sandra's support and Louis's rising charm, the entertainment business wouldn't be too far-fetched. Sandra would make sure he did it on his own terms, just like she has, if he did decide to step into the spotlight. From what we know about history, the kids of famous people usually do one of two things. They either enjoy their fame or try to live a quiet, happy life away from the cameras. Think about Jaden and Willow Smith, who have broken new ground in the arts, or Greta Thunberg, whose speech changed the world. Louis might end up in this special group of young people who use their stage for good. Then there's the element of the unknown. Louis has a lot of different interests, so he might take a road that no one saw coming. A tech business owner, an athlete for a living, or maybe an explorer who goes around the world and makes something new by combining creativity and compassion. There is one thing that is certain: Sandra's work will help him no matter what he does. Louis is set up to succeed in any field thanks to her steadfast support and his confidence and knowledge of the world. Anyway, will Louis follow in his mom's ways or make his own way? We'll have to wait to see the answer to that question. But if past is any indication, Louis is well on his way to making his future just as interesting as his childhood. From his adoption to his inspiring upbringing, Louis Bardo's journey with Sandra Bullock continues to captivate hearts worldwide. What's next for this extraordinary duo? Only time will tell, but one thing's clear: Louis's future shines bright. What are your thoughts on Sandra's parenting journey and Louis's potential future? Share your ideas in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon to stay updated on stories that inspire and amaze.